We are graphing general rational functions in different forms. And the first thing we want to start with is we want to calculate our x-intercepts. So what we do is we take the numerator and you set it equal to 0 and see what you get. So in this case, our x-intercept is x squared minus x minus 2 equals 0. In this case, we can factor it. So we get x, and we need to get to a negative 1. So that's going to be 2 and 1 and positive and negative. So then we get x equals negative 1 and x equals positive 2. So then we get those two for our x-intercepts, negative 1 and positive 2. And we can graph that as well. So negative 5, 5, 5, and 5. So negative 1, 0, and 2, 0. So we have those 2 points graphed right there. The next thing that we can look at is we want to look at our we want to look for our vertical asymptote. And what we do there is we set that equal to 0 and see what that ends up being. So our denominator for our vertical asymptote is 3x plus 6. So we can subtract 6. Divide by 3. And then we get x is equal to negative 2. So x is equal to negative 2 for our vertical asymptote. And so we can graph that as well. The next thing that we have to come and take a look at is we have to decide what our horizontal asymptote will be. And that is when we pay attention to our m and n and see what we come up with for that. So in this case, for our numerator, we have an x squared, and then we have an x to the first. So then we have m is equal to 2 and n is equal to 1. So m is greater than 1. So if m is greater than 1, there's no horizontal asymptote, or there's none. But there is a slant or oblique asymptote. So our horizontal asymptote will be none. But now we have to be ready to calculate the slant asymptote. And the way that we do that is we do long division. So we actually do the division. So we take the denominator and we divide it into the numerator. So we have 3x plus 6, and we divide that into x squared minus x minus 2. So the first one that we come to is we want to make our coefficient and our variable match what we have here. So how do we make 3 become 1? Well, we have to multiply by 1/3. And how do we become x squared? We have to multiply by x. So 1/3 x times 3x becomes x squared. And then 1/3 times 6 becomes positive 2x. And then we have to take this and we have to subtract it. So x squared minus x squared, that drops out. And negative x minus 2x becomes negative 3x. And then how does 3x become negative 3x? Well, we have to multiply by negative 1. So negative 1 times 3x is negative 3x. Oh, I forgot to bring down the negative 2 there. And negative 1 times 6 is negative 6. And then we actually have to subtract those. So negative 3x minus a negative 3x, that drops out. And negative 2 minus 6, so that's like plus 6, so that becomes positive 4 as the remainder. And so what ends up happening is our slant asymptote is what we have left up here. So in this case, it's going to be y equals 1/3 x minus 1. So our slant asymptote will be y equals 1/3 x minus 1. And so we have to graph that. So we're going to start at negative 1. And then we're going to go up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3. And then we can go down 1 over 3. And then we can graph those points, graph the line that goes in between those points. Oh, that's the wrong point. That's the right point. All right. So we have our vertical asymptote. We don't have a horizontal asymptote, and then we have our slant asymptote. We already have a couple points graphed here. We have negative 1 and we have 2. Those are graphed already. So let's try just picking one more point here. So we pick negative 4. So if we substitute negative 4 in, negative 4 squared is 16, minus a negative 4 is 20, which is positive 18. And then 3 times negative 4 is negative 12, plus 6 is positive 6. Excuse me, negative 6. So that becomes negative 3. So negative 4 is negative 3. We can pick one more, or try to pick one more. Let's pick negative 3. Negative 3 squared is 9. Plus 3 is 12, is 10. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9, plus 6 is negative 3. So that becomes 3 1/3 negative. So 3 1/3 negative, so it's a little bit further past. And now we have a pretty good graph to get some idea of what it looks like. So we have the points over here that don't cross. And then down here we have these points as well. For the domain, that one is pretty straightforward because our vertical asymptote tells us what our domain will be. And so it's just everywhere but -2. So -infinity to -2, union -2 to infinity. And for the range, we will calculate that one. We're not sure exactly where the lowest point or the highest point here is, and we're not exactly sure where the lowest point here is, but we will be able to calculate that one. And then we can take a look at what it looks like. So we have our graph, and we can see that it's right there. And then we have our slant asymptote and our vertical asymptote.